Truth is truth, no matter what form it takes. If it is true, it is true. The word of the Lord from Proverbs 12:8 teaches us this. A person is praised according to their prudence, and one with a warped mind is despised. Well, that is true, for the most part. Although it doesn't seem so sometimes these days. All you have to do is watch the news or look at social media to see that people with warped minds are praised and prudent people are despised. But I thought that was the truth. Well, one thing always brings out the truth. Time. Things can be confusing until time works its magic. Give it time. Time exposes everything for what it is. And that's where the little book of Proverbs comes in. The book of Proverbs is what wisdom looks like when everything works out according to plan. If Ecclesiastes is the wilderness of Hebrew wisdom literature, then Proverbs is the Garden of Eden. Proverbs is a large collection of sage advice mixed with life in God. The words reflect people who look at God and then who look at the world and say, ponder this. And that's what Proverbs is all about. Just like its sequel, Ecclesiastes, Proverbs says, think about these things, dwell on these things, ponder these things. Think about these things, focus. It is the same impulse that gave way to the early assemblies of Jesus followers that wrote things like Philippians 4:8. Whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Think about true things. This is the nature of the book of Proverbs. And believe it or not, the same is true of Ecclesiastes. Because when you think about such things, we become them. We dwell on what we see every day. So, let this summer in Ecclesiastes and this little peek into its prequel, Book of Proverbs, be a reminder to you, follower of Jesus, lover of God, friend of the Lord. Yes, you. And I'll think about it too. Remember to be aware of what your mind dwells upon. You just think for a few minutes. Where is your focus most of the time? Are you putting your mind every day on noble things, right things, pure things? At the beginning of the book of Proverbs, we see early on that this is a collection that a father passes on to his son. In chapter 2, after extolling the virtues of wisdom, the dad says, as though it were a promise from God, then you will understand what is right and just and fair, every good path. For wisdom will enter your heart, and knowledge will be pleasant to your soul. Discretion will protect you, and understanding will guard you. We as followers of Jesus focus on what is right, because we live in a world where we are surrounded by wrong. We put our minds on what is fair, because we dwell in a culture where we see things all around us that are unfair. We see the unjust all of the injustices of the world. And then we remember that one of the main callings of the community of Jesus is to do, say, and be just. When my son was turning 18 and graduating from high school, I just got an idea one day to collect a book full of letters and wisdom and advice for my son about what it means to be a man. And so I gave the book to a number of men and just asked them to write Cole a letter about what it means to be a man. And I'm not going to get into all the advice because that would be really outside the scope of the sermon. But there is something to be said about thinking about such a specific idea so broadly. And I think that's what happened in the book of Proverbs. It was someone saying to another person, here's what it means to be a person in this world. Here's what it means to be a person of God. Here's what it means to be alive. The first 9 chapters of the book of Proverbs is the setup for all of the aphorisms, the sayings, what we think of as proverbs. And then the sayings are there to say, at least think about living this way, believing this way, doing these things. Proverbs, like many other collections of wisdom through time from all over the world, the book of Proverbs takes life and says, think about this. Have you ever thought about writing down what drives you, what motivates you, kind of a rule of life? If you were to pass on wisdom to someone younger than you, what would you say? Where would you begin? What would you emphasize? What would you tell someone to help them get through hard times? What would you do to remind them, and maybe even remind yourself along the way, to be sure to celebrate the good times? That's what Proverbs is all about. It says, when things are all going together, when things are happening the way that they are supposed to happen, here's what life looks like. Proverbs says, here's what life is like when we are at our best. And I think one of the things that Proverbs suggests is that we're at our best when we are focusing on what we are supposed to be focusing upon. Wisdom is all around us. Truth is all around us. Set your heart on such things. Focus your mind on these kinds of things. And don't forget to live every day. It's what Jesus called abundant life.